Hello, I'm Craig Darville from Photo, and I'm talking today to Barbara Alper, who has opened up her archive and is giving us some of her vintage prints to offer collectors via our platform. Barbara, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, well, I'm Barbara Alper. I've been photographing for many years as a street photographer, photojournalist, and fine art photographer. You may know some of my work from having worked at the New York Times for many years and the LA Times and other publications and corporations and such.
And through Getty Images Gallery, which is
And
how we have a handful of images from across your career.
right, and
But
Getty now has over 2,000 images from a very wide range of my work, anything from my travels to portraits of celebrities or well-known people.
hmm, well, let's take a look at some of the vintage prints, these beautiful photographs, and look at them in chronological order. And let's start with a kid with kite, Boston. What's going on here?
So that actually is one of my very earliest photos after I began photographing in a serious fashion. Um, it was taken on at a park in the Boston area, and when I saw the proportions in the the sky, and then the size of the kids who are very small, but then in the middle of it is this kite floating in the sky. It felt right to me. The formation of the clouds, the whole shape of the thing was just perfect in my mind.
It's a great composition.
Thanks.
And the next vintage print that you're offering to us is a car with flags. And it's a recurring sort of imagery. You like to capture parades. And
I
I
do.
like this image. If you can talk about it a bit.
So this was taken actually I think I was on assignment photographing for the Boston Phoenix, and a few other of my images in the collection are also from assignments for them. And it was at a Columbus Day parade in Medford, Massachusetts, and where the Representative Paul Tsongas was running for senator. So I think that was my assignment, but on the side, there was this car covered in flags with this sense of patriotism that I don't think we see today. And if we do see it today, we don't see it with the same sort of meaning that it had then. There's the Italian flag with the American flags, and it's quite it's a display of glory. Thanks.
Now, I really want to ask you about Woman Under Dryer. The attitude is
Well,
incredible. How
yes.
did you get that photograph? Because I can't tell if she's displeased or it might even be inscrutable because it looks like she's just locked eyes with the camera. I'm not sure.
So that also was an assignment. She definitely had some attitude towards me taking her picture. She was completely aware of it, and we did have some connection because I did some other pictures of her in that same shoot. But this was the one that worked the best in my mind.
It looks like a film still. It's so good. So the next picture that I'd like you to give us a little bit of a story about is one of the strangest photographs. It's Coolidge Bank, the personal touch, which, what is going on?
Well, what was going on is the cash machines, or now they're called ATMs, were relatively new. And this was the one in Harvard Square, Coolidge Bank, where they had, I don't know, maybe 3 machines. Anyway, this one that I was lined up to get money from was broken. But I had gotten my cash out and I was waiting for my receipt, only the little box that the receipt would normally come out through was missing. And there was a guy behind it fixing the machine. And so I communicated with him and said, hey, can you pass me my receipt through the opening? And that's pretty much what it captures.
But there's this really lovely, gentle humor in a lot of your photographs, and I think that this one is like beautifully representative of it. It's touching because there is that personal touch, even though it's an impersonal, not dealing with a teller anymore. Which nobody. I mean, I don't remember the last time I was face to face with a teller pre-COVID lockdown, anything. So, and speaking of humor, this 1979 photograph of Jane Curtin from Saturday Night Live. So what is and the beer bottles, what's going on here?
Well, that another assignment I had for the Boston Phoenix, where they asked me to photograph on Saturday night what you might do at home. So there was the thought to put a couple of beer bottles on top of my, what was then a black and white television. And I had Saturday Night Live in the late 70s was the show to watch. And so I had the TV on and happened to catch the episode where Jane decided she was going to flash the camera. So it was just one of those lucky moments.
And then you also did work outside of North America?
Well, when I travel, I'm always shooting, and the best trips I have are the ones where I get the most photos that I'm happiest with. And I was in a trip to Vienna and went to the Schönbrunn Palace, which is this magnificent place. And on the outside of it, on the grounds, there are these hedges, and the hedges were massive. They're, probably maybe as high as the palace itself. And there were these benches and two people, one on each bench. And just the juxtaposition, the size of the people versus the size of the hedges. And so the sense of scale is what drew me to the image.
What camera would you travel with when you were going around the world?
Well, I was an Olympus OM1 user, and the Olympus OM1 came out just at the right time in 1975 for the time that I was getting started with photography professionally. And it was a small camera, but with all the great qualities of any of the other cameras and great lenses, and it fit my hands.
35 millimeter film?
35 millimeter, and I would travel with 35 millimeter, and everything was, there were no zoom lenses that I was interested in using at the time. So 35, 28, 85 and a 135. And I also have two bodies with me, one to shoot color and one for shooting black and white.
Nice. Let's move on to your most famous poser, your portrait subject, and also different type of look to the photograph, Lois at the beach, one of the series of Rockaway Beach photos that you did. I have multiple questions. One, who is Lois? Two, how did you achieve the effect of the light in this photograph? And tell me about the life of this image, because I understand it's quite a popular one for you.
So I had a roll of infrared film sitting in my refrigerator waiting to test it out somehow, somewhere, just out of curiosity. And I used it at Rockaway Beach one day. And when I saw the results of it, I knew that was the right film to use for what became this 10-year-long project. Because infrared works with heat and light, and really kind of, I felt, enhanced the feeling of the beach, where you can tell what's hot what's hot is light, what's cold goes dark. And when I was out there visiting with a friend who brought his dog, Lois, we were just on the beach and sitting there, and I called to Lois, and she turned her head and gave me this incredible, soulful look. That's kind of like, well, either what is it you want and why are you bothering me? Because I'm just so enjoying the beach here. But of course, that's our interpretation of what a dog might be thinking. But anyway, Lois has been a big hit in Japan, where they made a jigsaw puzzle of her, and they've made postcards and note cards, and she's in books and in collections also.
While we're on the topic of Rockaway Beach, let's look at one of your subjects, Woman with Lipstick. And I have a couple of questions, because you liked visiting Rockaway Beach often. There's so many photos in your archive of Rockaway Beach. And you also paid attention to older women.
There's a really nice community there. It's not, the area of the beach that I would go to is where people actually are living, as opposed to the area further down the beach that people come to on a day trip. So what I'm getting there are residents, and a lot of the residents are older, and some live in assisted living homes, and there's also a large Orthodox Jewish community. So when I go, I'm there not to just go to take pictures. I'm there to enjoy the beach. So I'm in my bathing suit, and I'm one of them. And over the years, going back every summer, they started to know me as, oh, where's the woman coming back, the photographer woman. I like the scenes, the woman putting on her lipstick. It's just so classic, and so classic that here she is at the beach, concerned about putting her lipstick on. And the same with the women who are walking away from me. That was, done from a very low angle, and the size and proportions. And then also there's a man off to the side who's more on my level. So it's a lot of size, proportions, scale, I guess I play with throughout my work.
And just so we're running short on time, but I didn't want to stop this without revisiting a world that doesn't exist anymore. 1989, on the Pier, this slice of life of, I guess, predominantly gay and gay-friendly life that took place on the piers in New York City.
I've always been comfortable in that community, and I felt I really wanted to capture that scene, and where guys would lie down on use it as their beach in the summertime, essentially, the city beach, so to speak. And I knew the piers, and that whole scene was disappearing in any case once AIDS hit and clubs closed, and it had its devastating effects on the community. But guys would still go out and hang out on the pier, and nobody bothered them. Cops never came by. They would, lay around naked or half dressed, and there'd be some couple action going on, but nothing too much. And it was comfortable for me. I just walked around and, here's this guy. And I think he was posing and standing there probably trying to attract attention, not from me in particular, but, and I just said, do you mind? Can I take your picture? And he was cooperative and said, sure. And that was it. I've kind of functioned in that world for a while.
Well, let's wrap it up there. Barbara, thank you so much for your time and for giving collectors access to these really outstanding photographs and vintage prints.
Craig, thank you. I'm honored to be part of your representation.
Oh, you're most welcome. All right, until next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Be well.